That is the sovereign decision. And it doesn't happen once. It happens every morning, in the small architectural decisions that no one will photograph or applaud, in the refusal to negotiate with the comfort tumor, in the willingness to stay in the void when every instinct screams to run. That decision, over time, becomes a man, not the man you performed, not the man you described in your internal monologue about potential, the actual man, the man of consequence, the man who costs something to lose, the sovereign. I want to leave you with this. The free man waits. He waits for the right conditions, the right timing, the right emotional state, the right sign that it's finally safe to become real. He waits, and the years accumulate their quiet judgment. The valuable man decides. Every day you spend optimizing for comfort. Someone else is accumulating the weight that makes them unmovable. The gap between you and the life you want is not luck. It is not timing. It is not circumstance, privilege, or the particular hand you were dealt. It is the number of days you chose easy over essential. That gap is countable. It is not fate. It is a tally, a ledger of small surrenders. And ledgers can be corrected, but not by waiting, not by planning, not by one more video, one more book, one more moment of inspiration that evaporates by noon, by the decision, by the forge, by crossing the void and staying. The war has already started. The only question that remains is which side you showed up on. I want you to do something before this video ends. Not share it, not subscribe, not tell a friend. Something harder than that. I want you to write down, right now, one thing you have been protecting that is functioning as a ceiling. One comfort, one avoidance, one eventually, one story you've been telling yourself about why now is not the right time. Write it down. Then write next to it what you are going to stop doing to protect it. Not tomorrow, not Monday, today. That is the beginning of the sovereign decision. That is the first stone of the architecture. This process is not for everyone. Not everyone will watch this and feel what I'm describing. Some will find it too harsh, too demanding, too far from the comfortable language of modern self-help. That is fine. This was never made for them. This was made for the man who already knows, somewhere beneath the performance and the comfort and the carefully constructed narrative about why things are the way they are, that he is capable of something more. That man knows who he is, and that man has already decided. Stop protecting your freedom. Start building your worth. Let me give you the irreplaceability protocol, not as a motivational concept, as a structural plan. Irreplaceability is not about being unique in personality. It is about being necessary in consequence. It is about positioning yourself through relentless accumulation of genuine skill, genuine contribution, genuine sacrifice, at the intersection of what the world desperately needs and what very few people are willing to build. You find that intersection by asking 3 questions that most men avoid. What do I consistently produce that creates real outcomes for real people? Not what am I good at? Not what do I enjoy? What do I produce that changes equations? What am I willing to endure that my competition will not? Because markets, relationships, rooms of power, they all eventually separate into those who stopped and those who kept going. The gap is almost never talent. It is almost always endurance, the willingness to stay in the discomfort long enough to build what the quitters left behind. And the third question, what am I currently protecting that is actually destroying my capacity? The comfort, the habit, the belief, the relationship, the identity, the story. What are you protecting that is functioning as a ceiling on your own development? Answer those 3 questions with the honesty of a surgeon reading scan results, not the defensive honesty of a man protecting his ego from the truth, and you will know exactly what to cut. The sovereign decision. This is where we arrive. After the diagnosis, after the levels, after the void, after the forge, after the protocol. The sovereign decision is simple. It is not complicated. It does not require a 3-month program or a mastermind or a morning routine that takes 4 hours. It requires one thing: a choice, made not in the peak of inspiration, not in the emotional surge after a video like this one, but in the ordinary, unglamorous, completely unwitnessed Wednesday morning when nothing is pushing you and no one is watching, and the comfortable path is right there, familiar and warm, and asking you to choose it again. That morning, you choose differently, not because someone told you to, not because you're afraid of what you'll become if you don't, but because you understand, with the cold clarity of a man who has finally stopped lying to himself, that the life you want cannot be built on the choices you have been making. Freud, in one of his more uncomfortable observations about the human condition, argued that civilization itself was built on the suppression of instinct, that the price of belonging to society was the burial of the most vital parts of the self. He called it the burden of civilization, the weight of living among people who would judge and exclude and diminish you if you ever fully showed up. But here is what Freud did not finish saying. Some men find a way to pay that price without losing themselves in it. They learn to operate inside the social structure without being consumed by it. They understand that the world has rules, and they master those rules with enough precision to bend them in their favor without breaking themselves in the process. That is not compromise. That is craft. The man who understands the consequence economy, who knows that the world pays for results and not intentions. He does not rail against the rules. He studies them. He respects them the way a surgeon respects the anatomy he's about to cut, with complete understanding, with zero sentimentality. He does not need the world to be fair. He needs to understand how the world actually works. And when he understands how it actually works, he can engineer his position within it, with the cold architectural precision of someone who has moved beyond hoping and into building. Now I want to talk to you about the void crossing, because this is the level where most of you are right now, whether you recognize it or not. You are in the silence. You are in the space between who you were performing yourself to be and who you are actually capable of becoming, and it is terrifying in there, not because of external danger, but because of the question, if no one is watching, who are you? I want to give you something to hold on to in that space. Not comfort. Comfort is what got you into the void, but orientation. Here's the truth about the void. It is not a punishment. It is not evidence that you chose wrong. It is not the universe telling you that you are not enough. The void is the pressure chamber. It is the place where the alloys of character are fused, where the man who says he wants to be great gets tested by the silence of whether he will continue when greatness is not visible, not applauded, not monetized, not validated. The void is asking you one question over and over in different languages and different situations. Are you real? Not real as in authentic, real as in actual. Are you an actual force in the world, or are you a representation of one? Are you building something that exists when you are not performing it, or are you just a very sophisticated performance? Most men, when the void asks that question, discover that they are performances, and they panic. Don't panic. Stay in the void long enough to begin the construction, to lay the first structural element of something that doesn't need an audience to exist. To do the work when the work is invisible, unrewarded, unwitnessed. That discipline, that is where real men are made. Not in the highlight, in the dark room before the highlight. In the 10,000 moments no one will ever see or celebrate or follow or like. That is the forge. The comfort tumor is the second thing I need you to understand, with the precision of a man who is done lying to himself. A tumor does not announce itself. That is its greatest weapon. It grows in the soft tissue of your daily life, in the habits that feel neutral, in the patterns that feel like self-care, in the choices that feel like reasonable adult compromises. And by the time you can feel it, it has already been there for years. What does the comfort tumor look like in real life? It looks like the business idea you've been researching for 18 months. It looks like the difficult conversation you've been waiting for the right time to have. It looks like the relationship dynamic you've been tolerating because leaving would require you to believe you deserve better. It looks like the morning you spend consuming instead of creating, the evening you spend numbing instead of building, the weekend that disappears into frictionless entertainment that feels like rest but functions like erosion. The comfort tumor is not dramatic. It doesn't look like rock bottom. It looks like Tuesday. It looks like reasonable. It looks like a life that is fine. And fine is the most dangerous word in the English language for a man who was built for something real. And then, level 7. The sovereign. He is no longer free from things. He is free to move the world according to his will. Let me be precise about what this means, because the word sovereign has been abused by every motivational corner of the internet until it sounds like a t-shirt slogan rather than what it actually is. The sovereign is not the man who has the most. He is not the man who is feared. He is not the man who has eliminated all vulnerability from his life. He is the man who went to war with his own softness and did not surrender, who looked at the comfort tumor, that slow, benign-looking growth of ease and avoidance and minimum viable effort, and refused to make peace with it, who crossed the void, who built in the dark, who became the variable, and arrived, finally, at the only kind of freedom worth having, not freedom from consequence, but freedom through consequence, the authority of a man who knows, at the cellular level, what he is capable of, because he has already proven it to himself. That proof, that is the currency no one can take. Not markets, not time, not circumstance. That proof is yours. Now let me be direct with you about something that the self-improvement industry has been selling you wrong for 20 years. The world is not a meritocracy of intent. Say that again. The world is not a meritocracy of intent. It does not reward what you meant to do. It does not pay dividends on what you were going to do next quarter, next year, next version of yourself. The world runs on consequence, on what you actually produce, on what you actually protect, on what you are actually willing to endure when the reward is not guaranteed and the audience is gone, and the only thing keeping you in the room is the memory of who you decided to become. You have been trained by culture, by comfort, by a system that profits from your passivity, to optimize for ease, to find the path of least resistance and call it intelligence, to step back from the heat and call it wisdom, and ease. Ease is the most expensive thing you have ever purchased, because the price was not paid in money. The price was paid in potential. In the slow, invisible installments of days, you chose comfortable over essential, safe over consequential, present over permanent. You financed your comfort with your future, and now the debt is coming due. Here is where I need you to do something most men will refuse to do. I need you to look at your life right now, not the version of it you present, not the narrative you've constructed about why things are the way they are, but the actual architecture of your daily existence. The choices you make before 9 a.m. The conversations you have or don't have. The risks you've been postponing. The craft you've been approaching casually instead of with the intensity of someone who understands that casualness is slow suicide. Ask yourself the ghost tax question. What is the hidden cost of being forgettable? Not to your ego, not to your social standing, to your actual capacity. Because every day you spend in the comfort zone is not a neutral day. It is a day where your tolerance for discomfort decreases, your resilience atrophies, your ability to sit in the void without running shrinks. The ghost tax is not a metaphor. It is a physiological reality. The body and the mind both calibrate to whatever you consistently demand of them. And if you consistently demand nothing, they will become magnificent instruments of nothing. You don't have an ambition problem, you have a calibration problem. And calibration can be corrected. And when they begin, they arrive at level 5. The architect stops asking what the world owes him and starts asking what he can build that the world cannot ignore. This is the seismic shift. This is the moment where freedom stops being a destination and starts being a byproduct, where value stops being something you seek and starts being something you engineer. Robert Greene, writing about the laws of power with the surgical detachment of a man who has studied human nature at its most raw, made an observation that most people overlook. The secret to power is to appear perfect while being perfectly willing to do what others are not. Appear perfect. Be willing to do what others are not. The architect understands this in his bones. He is not the loudest man in the room. He is not the most charismatic. He is not the most well-connected. He is the man who, when everyone else stopped, kept going. When the result was not guaranteed. When the audience was gone. When the comfort screamed at him to stop. He kept going. And slowly, invisibly, he built something. Not a brand, not an aesthetic. Something structural. Something that doesn't collapse when the pressure increases. Because it was built under pressure. Because pressure was the blueprint. Level 6, the leverage point. At this level, something extraordinary happens. You become the variable that changes outcomes. In rooms where decisions are made, your absence is felt. Not because you demanded to be indispensable, not because you manipulated or positioned or played the game with visible desperation, but because, through cold and deliberate accumulation of craft, of consequence, of genuine sacrifice, you became the person whose removal changes the equation. This is irreplaceability, and it is the most misunderstood concept in the modern conversation about success. Most men chase irreplaceability through status symbols, through the car, the title, the followers, the surface-level markers that say, "I matter." But surface-level markers disappear the moment the light changes. The leverage point doesn't need the light to be seen. He has built something in the dark. And Machiavelli, that cold, precise architect of consequence, who understood that the world bends to those who understand its mechanics, not its morality, wrote something that cuts to the heart of this level. A man who is not prepared to sacrifice everything for power will never have real power. Everything, not some things, not the comfortable things, not the things that don't hurt to release. Everything, the identity that wasn't working, the relationships that were keeping you small, the beliefs about yourself that felt like protection but functioned like a ceiling. Everything. The leverage point has paid that price, and the world can feel the difference between a man who has paid and a man who is still negotiating. Level 4 is where it gets dangerous. Level 4 is the void. The void is the level most men never survive, not because it kills them, though in some ways it does, but because it confronts them with a question so terrifying that most men run back to level 1 just to escape it. The void happens when you stop performing and no one comes. When you let the silence be silence. When you stop filling it with content and noise and the performance of busyness. And in that silence, the question surfaces, cold and enormous and completely unavoidable. If no one is watching, who are you? If the audience disappears, if the validation evaporates, if the stage goes dark, what is left? Most men discover the answer is not much. Not yet. not without the work they've been avoiding. And so they run. They fill the void with dopamine, with distraction, with a new identity project that looks like growth but is actually just another costume over the same unexamined wound. They go back to level 1, comfortable, safe, gone. But the few who stay in the void long enough to let it speak, those men begin something that cannot be undone. They begin. There are 7 levels, 7 distinct positions a man can occupy in the hierarchy of consequence. And most men spend their entire lives cycling between the first 3 without ever understanding why nothing changes. The first level is the comfortable ghost. You exist, you consume, you react. You have opinions, preferences, a Netflix queue, maybe a gym routine. You are present in the room, but absent in the memory of everyone who leaves it. The comfortable ghost is not unhappy. That's the insidious part. He has engineered just enough stimulation to never feel the full weight of his own irrelevance. He is free, wonderfully, tragically, completely free. The second level is the opinion collector. He has read the books. He has the frameworks. He can speak with authority about stoicism and neuroplasticity and the psychology of influence. But knowledge without skin in the game is just a more sophisticated form of hiding. The opinion collector knows what the forge looks like. He's read about the heat. He's watched the documentaries. He has never stepped inside. And then, the third level, the one that will make the most uncomfortable of you squirm. The approval addict. He curates himself for an audience. He posts, he performs, he waits. His self-worth is a stock market he does not control, manipulated by the invisible hand of metrics and reactions and the quiet terror of what happens if the validation stops. He has traded the forge for the algorithm, and the algorithm will never make him real. Most of you watching this right now are somewhere in these first 3 levels, and I am not saying that to shame you. I am saying it because shame is not what transforms men. Precision does. And the precise truth is this: you were designed for something the first 3 levels cannot contain. Here is the paradox that will rearrange something inside you if you let it in. The more you optimized for freedom, the less indispensable you became. You learned how to need no one. And slowly, without a single dramatic moment you could point to, without a single obvious mistake, no one learned to need you. That is not liberation. That is a slow, dignified disappearance. The Romanian philosopher Emil Cioran, a man who stared into the abyss of human existence with the cold precision of a surgeon, wrote, "It is not worth the bother of killing yourself, since you always kill yourself too late." Brutal, yes, but hear what he's actually saying. He's saying that most men wait. They wait for the perfect moment, the right conditions, the signal that it's finally safe enough to become who they actually are. And they wait so long that the version of themselves that was capable of greatness quietly dies of neglect. Not with a scream, not with a dramatic final scene, just a gradual fading, comfortable to the very end. You have been comfortable, haven't you? You've made peace with levels of your own existence that you were never meant to accept. You've called it wisdom. You've called it perspective. You've told yourself that wanting more was ego, was toxic masculinity, was some cultural programming you were proud to have escaped. But in your quietest moments, you know that what you escaped wasn't the trap. You escaped the forge, and the forge was the only place where you were going to become real. Let me show you something. Think about the men in your life, at work, in your social circle, at the table, the ones who, when they walk into a room, something shifts, not because they're loud, not because they perform dominance, but because something biological in every person present registers a signal that says, "This man costs something to lose." You know that man. You've seen him. And maybe you've spent years trying to figure out what he has that you don't. Maybe you called it confidence. Maybe you called it connections. Maybe you chalked it up to luck, timing, circumstance, but none of those are the right answer. What he has is weight, not physical weight, not the weight of arrogance or aggression, the weight of someone who has been forged, someone who went into the heat of sacrifice, of consequence, of genuine risk, and came out the other side holding something real, something earned, something that cannot be faked or shortcut or downloaded in a podcast episode. Value, not value as in net worth, not value as in productivity metrics, value as in what is lost when you are removed from the equation. That is the only question that matters. And right now, honestly, what is lost when you are removed from the equation? For most men, if they answer that honestly, the answer is almost nothing. And that's not an insult. That's a diagnosis. There is a particular kind of silence that follows a man who made all the right moves toward the wrong destination. You've felt it, haven't you? That hollow, pressurized quiet that settles into your chest when the calendar is empty and the phone is still, and you realize you built a life with no one waiting on the other side of it. Baltasar Gracian, the 17th century Spanish Jesuit who understood power the way surgeons understand anatomy, wrote something that modern self-help has been too afraid to repeat. He said, "The great art of life is sensation, to feel that we exist, even in pain." Read that again. Even in pain. Because Gracian understood something that your comfort has erased. He understood that a man who feels nothing, risks nothing, is owed nothing by the universe. That sensation, consequence, resistance, these are not obstacles to the good life. They are the good life. The evidence that you are actually here, actually present, actually building something that pushes back. Most men today are not building anything that pushes back. They are drifting, with beautiful language about it, with philosophies about personal freedom and authentic living and not bending to social expectations. But underneath all that sophisticated language is a man who is slowly, quietly, disappearing from the memory of everyone who matters. And that is the real tragedy. Not failure, not hardship, disappearance. You are free. Go ahead. Let that land for a second. You are free. No chains, no boss you despise, no relationship that suffocates you, no obligation that keeps you up at night. You designed your life around the sacred promise of autonomy, and you got exactly what you asked for. Congratulations. So is every man who has nothing worth taking. The bird in the open sky is free. The broken clock on the wall is free. The man nobody calls when the crisis hits. He is completely, perfectly, beautifully free. And he eats alone on Sunday. And his phone doesn't ring when it matters. And somewhere in the space between midnight and 3 a.m., he starts to wonder if freedom was ever really the destination, or just the most elegant lie he ever told himself. I need you to stay with me here, because what I'm about to show you is not motivation. It's not another framework wrapped in inspirational music. What I'm going to show you is an X-ray, a cold, precise image of the fracture you've been walking on, pretending it doesn't hurt. And the fracture looks like this. You spent years optimizing for freedom, and in doing so, you made yourself irrelevant. That's the wound they never warn you about. That's the infection nobody names. And if you let it grow one more year, it won't just cost you status or opportunity. It will cost you the one thing men never admit they're afraid of losing. The one thing that matters more than freedom ever could. Your weight in the world.